Picture this, April 16th, 2022. San Diego International Airport. Spring morning, the kind where California sunshine makes everything feel possible. Felicia Marie Johnson is 24 years old, standing in the security line with a small carry-on bag. Maybe she's got headphones in. Maybe she's texting someone goodbye. Maybe she's doing that thing we all do before a trip, mentally checking off lists, making sure she hasn't forgotten anything important. She has no idea this is the last time anyone who loves her will ever see her face. Here's what kills me about this moment. Felicia wasn't some reckless kid making an impulsive choice. She was a grown woman trying to build something. And the decision she made that day? It made sense to her. It felt like an opportunity, like she was finally catching a break. That's the thing about predators. They don't announce themselves. They don't show up looking like monsters. They show up looking like opportunity.
Welcome to Caught in the Web True Crime Stories. Kindly support us by subscribing to this channel and turn the notification icon.
Let me tell you who Felicia really was, beyond the headlines and the missing person posters. She was the friend who remembered your birthday without Facebook reminding her. The one who'd send you a meme at 2 a.m. because she knew you'd been having a rough week. Her laugh was the kind that made other people laugh. Infectious, genuine. The sound of someone who still believed good things were possible. Her family says she had dreams that felt almost tangible. Not vague someday, maybe fantasies, but actual plans. She talked about starting her own business, about traveling, about making enough money to help her mom retire early. San Diego was home, but home felt small. You know that feeling? When you love where you're from, but something keeps whispering that you're meant for more? That's where Felicia was at 24, on the edge of something, ready to jump. Houston wasn't random. She'd been researching opportunities there, better job market, lower cost of living, friends who'd moved there and posted photos of their new lives, new apartments, new jobs, fresh starts. So when the opportunity came, when someone reached out with an actual offer, actual money, an actual reason to visit, it must have felt like the universe saying, yes, now. Go. $500. That's what he offered. That's what it took. Now, before you judge that number, before you think that's not enough to risk your safety, let me ask you something. Have you ever been broke? Really broke? The kind of broke where $500 means rent gets paid, or your car doesn't get repossessed, or you can finally afford that thing you've been putting off for months. $500 can feel like $5,000 when you need it badly enough. His name was Chukwuebuka Nwobodo. Let's sit with that name for a second, because this is important. He was real, not a bot, not a fake profile, a real person with a real apartment and a real plan. We don't know exactly how they connected. Maybe it was Instagram, maybe LinkedIn, maybe some job board or networking site where he positioned himself as someone with opportunities to offer. What we do know is that he was good at this, good at seeming legitimate, good at saying the right things, good at making someone like Felicia smart, cautious, but also hopeful, believe this was safe. Think about what he must have said, the promises he must have made, the reassurances. It's just a meeting, it's a business opportunity. I work with young entrepreneurs. Lots of people have done this. You'll be in and out, $500 richer and back home the next day. Maybe he sent her his address, and it looked normal when she Googled it. Nice apartment complex, safe neighborhood. Maybe he video chatted with her so she could see his face, see that he seemed normal. Maybe he did everything right, from a manipulation standpoint, to make her feel like this was legitimate. And Felicia? She made the calculation that millions of young women make every single day. I think this is okay. I think I can handle this. I think I'll be safe. She wasn't stupid. She wasn't careless. She was human. The flight from San Diego to Houston is about 3 hours. 3 hours where Felicia is still safe, still alive, still texting her mom, maybe watching a movie on her phone, maybe feeling that buzz of nervous excitement at what comes next. When the plane touches down at George Bush Intercontinental Airport, she's still just a young woman on a trip. Security cameras catch her at baggage claim, walking through the terminal. Climbing into a rideshare, she's given the driver an address, Nwobodo's apartment complex. This is the moment, if we could reach back through time, where we'd all be screaming at her to turn around. Go to a hotel, call someone, meet him in public. anything but this. But Felicia can't hear us, and she arrives at his door. Here's what we know happened next. She went inside. Here's what we don't know. Did she feel safe at first? Was he friendly? Did he offer her something to drink while they talked? Did she sit on his couch and think, okay, this seems fine? Or did she feel it immediately, that animal instinct that something was wrong? Did she try to leave? Did she make it to the door before whatever happened next happened? The apartment complex had cameras in the hallways. Police would later pull that footage. They'd see Felicia entering Nwobodo's unit. They would never see her leave. For 6 days, Felicia's phone went silent. Imagine being her mother during those 6 days. The first few hours, you're annoyed. She said she'd call. Why hasn't she called? By that evening, you're worried. You're texting, calling, leaving voicemails that try to sound casual. Hey honey, just checking in, let me know you're okay. By day 2, the worry has metastasized into fear. You're calling hospitals, you're calling police stations. You're texting her friends. Have you heard from Felicia? When did you last talk to her? By day 3, you can't eat, can't sleep. Every sound makes you jump because maybe this is her calling to explain everything. By day 6, April 22nd, you know something terrible has happened. You know it in your bones. And you file a missing person report with a voice that shakes and hands that won't stop. Houston Police Department starts asking questions. Where was she going? Who was she meeting? Do we have a name? An address? And that's when Chukwuebuka Nwobodo's name enters the investigation. When police show up at Nwobodo's apartment, he answers. This is crucial. Murderers come in 2 varieties, the ones who run immediately and the ones who think they're smarter than everyone else. Nwobodo was the second kind. He invites them in. He's cooperative, calm, maybe even a little concerned. Yes, officer. How can I help? They ask about Felicia. He doesn't deny knowing her. Yeah, she came by. We had a meeting. She left. Just like that. Simple, clean. When did she leave? I don't know. Maybe an hour after she got here. She called a rideshare. I assumed she went back to wherever she was staying. Did anything unusual happen? No, nothing. It was just a meeting. Here's the thing about lies. The best ones are wrapped around truth. He doesn't deny she was there because he knows his neighbors might have seen her. He doesn't deny they met because her phone records would prove it. He admits just enough to seem honest while lying about the only thing that matters. What happened after she walked through that door? But police aren't buying it. Something feels wrong. His story is too neat. And Felicia, a young woman who calls her mother regularly, who's connected to everyone on social media, has completely vanished. They leave, but they're already working on a search warrant. When the forensic team enters that apartment days later, they know what they're looking for. Blood, DNA, signs of struggle, evidence of cleanup. They find all of it. Felicia's DNA is everywhere it shouldn't be. Not on a couch cushion where she sat for a meeting. Not on a coffee cup she drank from. Her biological material is present in patterns that forensic experts recognize immediately. Patterns that indicate violence. Patterns that indicate injury. Patterns that someone tried desperately to clean up. They find blood evidence that luminol reveals even after scrubbing. They find DNA in bathroom drains. They find evidence of chemical cleaners used in quantities that go beyond normal housekeeping. This isn't someone tidying up after a guest leaves. This is someone trying to erase a crime scene. And yet somehow, this isn't enough. Maybe the district attorney wants more before filing charges. Maybe they're worried about proving murder without a body. Maybe there's some legal technicality, some procedural hurdle that forces them to wait. Whatever the reason, Chukwuebuka Nwobodo walks out of that police station a free man. And here's where the story goes from tragedy to travesty. He doesn't wait around to see if they'll come back with handcuffs. He runs. 1 week after police execute that search warrant, Nwobodo is gone. His apartment is empty, his social media goes dark, his phone disconnects, his car disappears. It's like he studied Felicia's disappearance and decided to replicate it for himself. But here's the difference. When Felicia vanished, people searched for her. Her family plastered her face on every platform. Strangers shared her story. People cared. When Nwobodo vanished, it was strategic, calculated. He wasn't a victim. He was escaping consequences, and he had time to do it because the system The justice system that's supposed to protect people like Felicia moved too slowly. Think about what he might have done in those days between his release and his disappearance. Did he drain his bank accounts? Did he use fake IDs to buy bus tickets to Mexico? Did he have help from friends or family who believed his lies? Or maybe, and this is the possibility that haunts me, maybe he wasn't running at all. Maybe he destroyed every last piece of evidence connecting him to Felicia's disappearance. Maybe he moved her body to a location where she'd never be found. Maybe he's still in Houston right now, living under a different name, watching the news about himself and feeling invincible. February 7th, 2023. An ordinary Tuesday picture, a highway maintenance worker doing his job. It's early February in the Sam Houston National Forest, near Flamingo Lakes and Highway 149. He's probably thinking about lunch or what he needs to pick up from the store later, or whether it's going to rain. He's definitely not thinking he's about to find someone's daughter. The TX worker spots a bag, the wrong kind of bag in the wrong kind of place. And something about it makes him stop, makes him look closer. When he opens it, his ordinary Tuesday becomes the day he'll never forget. Inside, human remains and jewelry. A woman's jewelry. He calls 911 immediately. Montgomery County Sheriff's deputies arrive, then the homicide detectives, then the crime scene investigators. They secure the area, document everything, begin the painstaking process of recovery. And somewhere in California, Felicia's father, Kevin Johnson, has no idea that this day, this terrible, blessed day, is about to change everything. When Kevin Johnson got the call from Houston police on that Monday in late February, almost a year after his daughter vanished, he already knew. Fathers know. They wouldn't have called me, he said later. They wouldn't have notified me if they didn't think it was her. Think about that moment. The phone ringing, seeing Houston Police Department on the caller ID. Your heart stops because you know you've been waiting for this call for 10 months, dreading it and desperately needing it at the same time. The detective is professional, compassionate. They've made calls like this before, though it never gets easier. Mr. Johnson, we found remains in the Sam Houston National Forest. We believe they may be your daughter's. Maybe. They'd found her jewelry with the remains. Personal effects that Kevin probably bought her for a birthday or Christmas. Things he'd recognize anywhere. But they needed to be sure. DNA analysis, dental records, scientific confirmation of what a father's heart already knew. For the next several days, the remains were sent for DNA sampling and dental record analysis. Can you imagine those days, knowing it's probably her, but still holding on to that microscopic sliver of hope that maybe, somehow, it's not? Kevin told reporters, part of me still felt she was alive, but it's also closure, knowing I will have her body someday, and soon. That's the impossible contradiction of finding a missing loved one's remains. It's devastation and relief crashing into each other. It's the death of hope and the birth of a different kind of terrible peace. You don't get your daughter back, but you get to stop wondering if she's being tortured somewhere, if she's calling out for you, if she's still alive and you somehow failed to find her. The not knowing ends. And that matters more than anyone who hasn't lived through it can understand. February 27, 2023. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office made it official. Dental records confirmed the remains belonged to Felicia Marie Johnson. She was 24 years old. She'd been dead for almost a year, and she'd been lying in that forest, discarded like trash by the man who killed her, while her family searched and hoped and prayed. The sheriff's office released a statement. It is with a heavy heart that we report dental records have confirmed that the human remains are that of missing person Felicia Johnson of California. Our hearts go out to Johnson's family and friends, and we hope this brings them some closure. Closure. That word again. Kevin Johnson spoke to reporters that day with a grace that's hard to comprehend. I'm just glad that my baby is going to be home in some way, shape, or form shortly, he said. That's big, that's huge. Some people never get the closure. He was right. Some families search for decades. Some never find their loved ones at all. In that terrible landscape of possibilities, Kevin could at least bring his daughter home to California, could give her a proper burial, could have a place to visit her. But here's what breaks my heart about what he said next. I feel blessed, I feel humbled. Just appreciate the TX worker that found that bag. That's my daughter popping back from the grave for her revenge, for her justice. That is what that is. Now everything is going to come to surface. Her revenge, her justice. Because even in death, Felicia was fighting back. Even as remains in a forest, she was refusing to be forgotten. That TX worker finding her wasn't random, it was Felicia demanding to be seen, demanding answers, demanding that the man who did this be held accountable.
No stone unturned in trying to find out your whereabouts. But at the end of the day, we want this brother to know we will not rest until you're held accountable for this crime. And this was a wicked crime, and a crime against women, and a crime against humanity.
Here's what investigators had already pieced together by the time they found Felicia's body. Details that made the discovery feel less like a surprise and more like a confirmation of their worst fears. After Felicia disappeared, receipts showed Nwobodo took out money and purchased supplies, towels, trash bags. Then a mechanical saw, flashlight, shovel, and gloves. Let that sink in. A saw. Not for construction, for dismemberment. His internet searches during those days were a how-to guide for murder. Most forested part of Houston. What does bleach do to blood? How to be a serial killer. How to kill without getting caught. Can police check phone records of a missing person? This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't a fight that went too far. This was methodical, calculated. A man Googling how to literally get away with murder while a young woman's body was somewhere in his apartment. When police searched Nwobodo's phone after initially detaining him, they found something that still makes my stomach turn. A photograph of a dismembered female. Plus 3 additional photos of deceased individuals. Was one of those photos Felicia? We may never know. No metadata was associated with the images, but that detail tells you everything about who Nwobodo really was. This wasn't his first time. At minimum, it wasn't the first time he'd thought about it. Court records showed he'd been investigated for sexual assault in November 2020, but the case was dismissed when the alleged victim declined to press charges. How many times did this almost happen before Felicia? How many women escaped something they didn't even know they'd escaped? Sam Houston National Forest. Near Highway 149, miles of dense Texas woodland where someone could dump a body and reasonably expect it to never be found. A neighbor who lived near the forest told reporters, "Sometimes there are trash bags that people throw things in, but it's probably been 30 to 40 years since we heard they found someone else in there." 30 to 40 years. Think about that. Nwobodo researched the most forested area in Houston, found a spot remote enough that bodies could lie undiscovered for decades, and deposited Felicia there like she was garbage. But he didn't count on that TX worker. Didn't count on someone actually looking in that bag. Didn't count on Felicia, even in death, refusing to stay hidden. There's something uniquely horrifying about the word remains when applied to someone you love. It reduces a whole person, someone who laughed and cried and dreamed and loved, to biological material. Kevin Johnson voiced his deepest fear to reporters. "My fear is he is out of reach. Out of reach. In another country maybe. Living under a false name. Starting over while Felicia's family lives in permanent grief." But Kevin refused to give up hope. "But I believe the reason why her body was found is so she can get return and get justice for herself. And this is the first piece of the puzzle." The first piece of the puzzle. Felicia being found wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of the next chapter. The chapter where justice finally catches up to the man who did this. Because here's the thing about cases like this. Finding the body changes everything. It transforms the case from a missing person investigation to a murder investigation with physical evidence. It gives prosecutors leverage. It makes conviction possible. Nwobodo can run, but he can't unring this bell. Can't undo the fact that Felicia's remains told their own story. That the evidence trail he tried so desperately to erase kept leading back to him. Her father plans to honor his daughter with a service once her remains are released and he can take her home to California. Home, where she should have returned in April 2022 after that trip to Houston, where her family was waiting for her, where her life was supposed to continue. Instead, she's coming home in an urn, or a casket, returning to the place she left from as something unrecognizable from the vibrant young woman who boarded that plane. But she is coming home. And that matters. Every person who vanishes deserves to be found. Every family deserves answers. Every victim deserves justice. Felicia got 2 out of 3. Now it's up to law enforcement to complete the picture. If you have any information about Nwobodo's whereabouts, contact the HPD Homicide Division at 713-308-360 or Crime Stoppers at 713-222-8477. He's still out there, still looking over his shoulder, still living with what he knows he did.